My sister-in-law, Alara, 6 months pregnant, dragged my brother, Ethan, into the hospital, demanding doctors perform an early C-section. She adamantly insisted that the baby in her womb was a dragon child, and that if it were born precisely at 8:08 on the 8th of the month, it would transform from a snake into a dragon, bringing immense luck, prosperity, and wealth to our family. When I, Luna, received the news, I rushed to the hospital. Thanks to my strong intervention, Alara was taken back home. She endured giving birth to a healthy baby boy, Leo, after a full 10 months. But as that nephew grew, he didn't live up to anyone's expectations. He didn't become an outstanding talent, nor did he bring luck to the family. After graduating from college, he brought home a pregnant girlfriend, asking for money to get married. Overwhelmed by the exorbitant dowry, Alara had a breakdown and blurted out, "I have no money. If you want money, go find your aunt. It's all your aunt's fault. If she hadn't stopped me, you would have been born exactly at 8:08 on the 8th of the month. That was the auspicious time for the snake to become a dragon." She added that the fortune teller had said back then if he'd been born on time, he would surely become a dragon, bringing blessings and fortune, and our family wouldn't be suffering like this now. That evening, I took all my newly withdrawn savings from the bank to give to my nephew, but what awaited me was a pair of hands as hard as iron. My nephew strangled me to death, then faked his own suicide to cover up his heinous crime. That money naturally became my brother and sister-in-law's property. Meanwhile, my own husband and child were left with no savings, not even enough for food. When I awoke, I found myself back on the day my sister-in-law was 6 months pregnant, screaming and demanding an early C-section. Alara shrieked, "I don't care, I must have the surgery today. The baby must be out by 8:08, otherwise I'll report all of you. My baby is a dragon child. If you make me miss this sacred time, can you bear the consequences?" A piercing female voice drew everyone's gaze. I looked up to see the woman screaming and thrashing in front of the nurse's station. It was Alara, my sister-in-law, 6 months pregnant. Those familiar words made it impossible for me to believe my eyes. As I pulled out my phone to check the time, I realized I had truly been reborn, returned to the day Alara caused such a commotion at the district hospital. In my previous life, while strolling in the park with her mother, Alara met a master who specialized in fortune-telling. This person told her she was carrying a dragon child. If the baby was born exactly at 8:08 on the 8th of the month, it would be a reincarnation of a dragon fetus, bringing wealth and status to the family. So, on the 8th of the month, Alara dragged our entire family to the hospital, determined to force the doctors to perform surgery and deliver the 6-month-old baby. Hearing the news, I rushed over and firmly pulled the whole family away. Although Alara missed the auspicious hour because of me, she later gave birth to a perfectly healthy baby boy at full term. From then on, I became a sinner in Alara's eyes. When my nephew performed poorly in school, she would grumble, "It's all your aunt's fault. If she hadn't interfered, you would have been a reborn dragon, brilliant in your studies." When my nephew graduated from college and couldn't find a job, she'd say, "Blame your aunt. If you'd listened to me that year, you'd be a high-ranking official by now." My nephew often hung out with a wild crowd, earning little. He even started dating a girlfriend who claimed to have a third eye. Before long, she became pregnant and demanded marriage. Alara disliked her future daughter-in-law and was crushed by the high dowry cost. Unwilling to spend money, she once again shifted the blame onto me. "If you don't have money, go find your aunt. It's all your aunt's fault." That evening, upon hearing the news, I withdrew all my savings and brought them to my nephew. To my horror, he strangled me to death, then staged the scene to look like a suicide, erasing all traces. That money naturally became my brother and sister-in-law's property. Meanwhile, my own husband and child were left with no savings, not even enough for food. As I recalled all this, I slowly regained my composure. The loud shouts in my ears pulled me back to reality. "I don't care. I must have the surgery now, or I'll complain directly to the hospital director. Don't think I don't know your tricks. Be careful, or I'll have all of you fired." I almost burst out laughing. It's rare for anyone to rush into their own doom like this. In this life, I wouldn't interfere. I wanted to see how they would raise this 6-month-old dragon child. The hospital was in chaos, Alara stirring it up like a disturbed beehive. Doctors and nurses took turns trying to reason with her. Even the hospital director was dragged out, but no one could persuade Alara, who was consumed by her dream of a dragon son that would change her life. Finally, the hospital reluctantly arranged for an emergency C-section. My brother, Ethan, Alara's sister, Sophia, and I stood waiting in the hallway. In my previous life, I had spent so much effort to get the family to leave. But for the next 20 years, my brother and sister-in-law never stopped resenting me. Sophia, after being married off to a lame man, often came to my brother and sister-in-law's house begging for help. To win their favor, she frequently mocked me. Even now, I vividly remember Sophia holding my nephew, her voice dripping with sarcasm as she called out, "Leo, look, this is your wicked aunt. If it weren't for her, how wonderful your life would be now. Remember, when you grow up, be dutiful to Auntie Sophia, and don't pay any attention to that venomous snake, your aunt." In my previous life, Alara had a smooth delivery, giving birth to a healthy nephew in just an hour. This time, Alara had been given labor-inducing drugs. The medication hadn't fully taken effect yet, but her abdomen showed signs of contractions. Her complexion turned from rosy to pale. Throughout her pregnancy, Alara, blinded by her belief in the dragon child, barely visited the hospital for checkups. Even things like stewed chicken soup and folic acid were things I bought for her out of pity. Seeing Alara's pale face on the hospital bed, I suppressed the smile threatening to surface and probed my brother with a worried tone. "I don't think Alara's situation is very stable. Women usually carry for 10 months before giving birth. Alara is only 6 months along. Is it really safe for her to deliver now, brother?" Ethan, my brother, stared intently at his phone, not bothering to look up, and replied nonchalantly, "What's there to be afraid of? She's already in the hospital to give birth. What else could be dangerous? If my son is born smoothly, great. If anything goes wrong, I'll make them pay dearly." Sophia's face lit up upon hearing this, and she quickly interjected, "My sister isn't carrying an ordinary child. How could anything happen to a dragon child? Don't say such inauspicious things, brother-in-law, don't listen to her. My sister will definitely have a safe delivery. This birth hour was calculated by the master. It must be at this time." Her sweet words made my brother grin widely. I struggled to maintain a calm expression. Did that fool truly believe my brother and sister-in-law were good people? If this birth went smoothly, fine. But if anything went wrong, Sophia's boastful words today would undoubtedly be used to blame someone else. Time ticked by minute. Inside the delivery room, a woman's agonizing screams echoed. "No, no, quick check, is it 808 yet?" Doctors and nurses were drenched in sweat. The midwife repeatedly urged Alara to push hard, but even though she strained until her face was green, she stubbornly held back, refusing to give birth. After a full hour, a doctor yelled, "Hurry, push, madam, it's almost time." Hearing that, Alara finally let out a sigh of relief, but because she had held back for too long, she now had no strength left to push. Her body felt drained of all energy, and despite the unbearable pain in her abdomen, she couldn't do anything. Gradually, Alara's consciousness faded and her eyes grew dull. Only then did the doctors realize something was wrong. "This isn't good. Get blood samples quickly. The patient is hemorrhaging severely. Notify the family immediately." A nurse, her hands covered in blood, rushed out, speaking urgently. "Are you the patient's family? She's experiencing severe hemorrhage and needs emergency surgery. Please sign the consent form quickly." My brother looked up, his voice indifferent. "It's fine, just keep delivering. There won't be any problems." Sophia echoed, "That's right, my sister is healthy, it's just childbirth, how could anything go wrong? And remember, my nephew must be born exactly at 8:08. Their confident tone stunned everyone. I hid in a corner, pretending not to exist, resolutely offering no opinion. Finally, the head of obstetrics brought the consent form, making a firm demand. My brother reluctantly signed. The medical team rushed into the operating room, performing an emergency C-section. A baby boy was finally delivered, but he was extremely weak. The doctor held the baby's legs, patted his bottom, but heard no cry. A nurse quickly scooped him up, massaging him until a faint breath was heard. The baby was immediately placed in an incubator. Alara remained motionless on the operating table. After delivery, she continued to hemorrhage profusely. The doctors had no choice but to perform a hysterectomy to save her life. Only when the surgery was over was the family informed. My brother immediately flew into a rage. What is this? Why did you remove her uterus? What kind of woman is she without a uterus? You quacks, you can't even deliver a baby properly. Even my village midwife is better than you. The doctors, still recovering from the intense surgery, turned dark-faced at his words. The head of obstetrics could no longer tolerate it and said coldly, I warn you, this is a hospital, not a place for you to cause trouble as you please. This delivery was initiated by your request for an early C-section and labor-inducing drugs. We already warned you about the potential risks. All actions here, even in the operating room, are fully recorded by cameras. Even if you call the police, we can provide evidence. As soon as the words were spoken, the entire room fell silent. My brother also fell silent, no longer shouting about calling the police. Sophia huddled, curled up in front of the hospital bed, not daring to utter a sound. After the doctors left, my brother's expression remained grim. But when the nurse mentioned that the baby was indeed born around 8:08, he immediately burst into joyous laughter. Ha ha ha, excellent, it truly is our Zhang family's dragon child. So what if we only have one child? With him, our Zhang family will definitely prosper. Sophia quickly fawned. Brother-in-law, see how much my sister suffered this time. But luckily, the child was born exactly at 8:08. You can just wait to enjoy the merits of having a dragon child later. I couldn't be bothered to listen to their flattering words and couldn't help but pour cold water on their enthusiasm. Brother, I heard the nurse say the baby is in an incubator. Born at only 6 months, I don't know if. My brother, too elated to care, smiled at me and thumped his chest. Ha ha ha, don't worry, little sister. Our family has a dragon treasure. How could anything bad happen? He'll definitely overcome any challenges and grow up healthy and strong. Those doctors and nurses just love meddling and demanding all sorts of tests. What could possibly be wrong with a newborn? In my opinion, it's all just a trick for the hospital to extort money. I took a few steps forward, looking at Alara, lying on the hospital bed with a stark white face. I couldn't help but sigh deeply several times. Alara had sacrificed so much for her dragon child, but the most important man in her life, her husband, was only thinking of his son and his dream of wealth and status. He had even argued with the doctors right after the news, without bothering to glance at his wife, who had just had her uterus removed. Seeing my lack of response, my brother sat down in the visitor's chair, sighing heavily. Ah, Alara had her uterus removed. Our family will definitely get rich later, but is one child enough? No, it's not. This suggestive remark was immediately understood not only by me, but also by Sophia. Late in the afternoon, Alara drowsily regained consciousness. My brother, hearing the movement, immediately approached her, grabbed her, and slapped the back of her head. You useless wretch, look at yourself, you're good for nothing. Now you've lost your uterus too. Are you even a woman anymore? Alara, stunned by the unexpected slap, weakly leaned against the headboard, taking a while to compose herself. Sophia stepped forward and whispered a few words of explanation, and only then did Alara burst into choked sobs. The master of the house can't be like that. I'm the mother of the dragon child. Isn't one dragon child enough? Later, as long as you treat our child well, we'll have anything we want. My brother's face was cold, devoid of patience. All right, what are you crying about now? You should know that you were able to give birth to the dragon child thanks to my good fortune. From now on, stay home and take good care of the child. And another thing, I warn you to mind your own business. Don't meddle in mine, or I'll kick you out of the Zhang family. Understand? Alara saw my brother's slight softening, immediately let out a sigh of relief, and nodded furiously like a chicken pecking at grain. But she didn't notice Sophia, who always sought to please my brother, standing still beside them. An inscrutable glint shone in Sophia's shimmering eyes. Alara stayed in the hospital for half a month, enduring my brother's constant scolding every day. During that time, the baby's diagnostic results were also released. The doctor held the results, speaking in a somber voice. Parents of baby Zhang Liu, test results show he was born prematurely at 6 months and his organs are not fully developed. Through imaging tests, he has been diagnosed with sepsis. Additionally, genetic testing shows he has type 1 diabetes. Fortunately, it was detected early. If diabetes is properly managed, it's not a major concern. As for the metabolic disorder, thanks to early detection, timely intervention can significantly increase his survival rate. The doctor's words struck everyone like a lightning bolt, leaving them numb. My brother panicked. My son must be saved at all costs. Yes, this child was their only hope, the sole foundation for their dream of glory and wealth. But when the doctor announced the treatment costs, everyone was stunned. The price was exorbitant. Early intervention for the metabolic disorder required daily medication and antibiotics, costing approximately 2,500 to 5,000 yuan per day. If surgery was needed later, the family would need to prepare at least 300,000 yuan. The atypical type 1 diabetes required daily insulin injections. One must understand that my brother was just an ordinary office worker, earning only about 5,000 yuan a month. Alara had quit her job after becoming pregnant, and their daily living expenses often relied on my small contributions. Given their current situation, these treatment costs were truly astronomical for my brother and sister-in-law. Even though she was still weak in her hospital bed, Alara couldn't hide her anxiety. They had struggled so hard to reach this point, with glory and wealth seemingly within reach. How could she give up? Moreover, she had now lost her uterus. If she abandoned the baby, my brother would surely divorce her immediately. Alara choked back tears, her eyes red. "Husband, where will we get so much money?" She sobbed uncontrollably, her face etched with despair. I bowed my head, taking a bank card from my purse and handing it to my brother. "You know, brother, since having my daughter and getting married these past few years, I haven't saved much. I'm still living in a rented house. This is all my savings, about 30,000 yuan. Please take it for Leo's treatment. As his blood relative, how could I bear to see my nephew abandoned just because of money?" My brother and sister-in-law both looked moved. I intentionally mumbled further, "If only the house I'm renting was my own, that would be great. Then, even if I had to sell the house, I'd be willing to do anything for little Leo, since he is a dragon child after all." Upon hearing this, my brother immediately clapped his hands and cheered. "That's right, wife. Didn't your family just buy a house this year? Our son carries a destiny of glory and wealth, not just for the two of us to enjoy. Have you forgotten that your mother was the one who kept urging us to have a child early? And she loves accumulating good karma, doesn't she? Now our son needs money for treatment, so tell your mother to sell her house to pay for his treatment. Once our dragon treasure recovers, we'll have anything we want." Alara, without hesitation, immediately pulled out her phone, using the excuse of calling Sophia to come to the hospital for postpartum care. Less than 20 minutes later, Sophia, carrying a thermos, entered the room cheerfully. Before she could even greet them, Alara immediately said, "Sophia, I need your help with something. Go back and sell the new house." Sophia was stunned, vehemently objecting. "No, that's the wedding house prepared for our brother, Felix. How can you just open your mouth and demand to sell it? Aren't you ashamed?" Alara retorted angrily, "Mother, my Leo is like this now because you advised us to have him early. If you don't take responsibility, who will?" Only then did Sophia truly understand Alara's intention. She must have begun to regret her fervent encouragement back then. What nonsense! How can you blame Mother? Are you too out of your minds? How long have you been pregnant without getting checkups? You demanded a C-section at just 6 months. It would be strange if a 6-month premature baby didn't have problems. Mother and daughter argued fiercely, their voices clashing loudly in the hospital room. No matter how much others tried to mediate, Sophia refused to yield and finally stormed out of the hospital in anger. The menacing glint in my brother and sister-in-law's eyes sent a chill down my spine. It's unclear what they conspired after that, but the next morning, my brother arranged for Alara's discharge. I didn't interfere, merely visited the neonatal care unit every day to see my nephew, because I understood that selfish people like my brother and sister-in-law wouldn't stop there. Indeed, 3 days later, my brother brought a stack of money to pay the hospital fees. Seeing his son receiving treatment, he smugly boasted, "See how capable your brother is? Your sister-in-law went to her mother's house, stole the household registration book, and I found someone to sell the house within 3 days." I couldn't help but sneer. What if her family finds out? So what if they find out? The hospital fees are paid. Besides, Leo is a dragon child. They're accumulating good karma by helping him. Consider it a benefit for them. I bowed my head and smiled, saying nothing. A few days later, Sophia, leading a group of people, stormed into the hospital with furious energy, her face pale, a stack of documents in her hand. It was clear she had discovered the house had been sold. "Elara, you unfilial daughter, you dared to steal my household registration book and sell the house. Do you even see me as your mother anymore?" Sophia's voice was so sharp it made everyone in the hallway turn to look. Elara sat on the bed, her face white, her lips trembling as she tried to explain, but Mrs. Song slapped her. "Do you know that was your brother's wedding house? He's about to get married. How am I supposed to talk to his fiancé's family now?" Mrs. Song trembled with rage, pointing at Alara's face and cursing her. My brother saw this and immediately stood in front of Elara, his voice sharp. "Mother, what are you doing? Leo is a dragon child. Our whole family will rely on him in the future. So what if we sold the house? When Leo grows up, he'll be able to buy as many houses as he wants." Mrs. Song let out a cold laugh, her eyes full of contempt. "Dragon child? What kind of dragon child is so riddled with diseases? You two are truly insane, abandoning your house for a sick child." Elara, hearing those words, immediately burst into tears, choking out, "Mother, how can you say that? Leo is your biological grandson." Mrs. Song, Elara's mother, was unmoved. She cast a cold glance at her daughter and replied, "Biological grandson? I don't have an unfilial daughter like you. From today onwards, don't you two ever dream of stepping foot into the Song family home again." With that, she turned and left with her companions, leaving my brother and sister-in-law standing there, speechless, looking at each other. For reasons unknown, even though the Song family had severed ties with my brother and sister-in-law, Sophia continued to come to the hospital diligently every day, on time, to care for her nephew, showing meticulous concern. The new house that the Song family had just bought was originally intended as a wedding home for Felix, Elara's brother, but it had now been sold. Mrs. Song tried to vaguely conceal the truth when facing the prospective bride's family, but as the wedding day approached, how could the matter of the house be hidden forever? When the girl learned that the wedding house had been sold, her true nature was revealed, and she immediately broke up with Felix. She even accused the Song family of marriage fraud, resolutely taking the dowry they had already given and refusing to return it. As a result, the Song family not only lost the house, but also a large sum of money. In the eyes of outsiders, the Song family was no different from scammers trying to trick someone into marriage, and their bad reputation spread far and wide. Mrs. Song's anger, far from subsiding after leaving the hospital, only intensified. She led several relatives directly to the rented apartment where my brother and sister-in-law were staying. "Elara, get out here now." Mrs. Song kicked the door open, her voice shrill and piercing. Elara, sitting on the sofa breastfeeding her child, startled and trembled at the sound, nearly dropping the baby. Looking up and seeing her mother's pale face, she immediately panicked. "Mother, why are you here?" Elara's voice was shaky, her eyes evasive. Mrs. Song sneered, taking a few strides to stand before her, snatching the baby. "You unfilial child, you dared to steal my household registration book and sell the house, making your brother unable to marry, and now you have the nerve to ask why I'm here." Elara frantically reached out to get her child back. Mother, give me back my child. He's still so small, he can't handle being scared." Mrs. Song hid the baby behind her back, her voice icy. "Give him back to you. Do you deserve him? This baby is the reason you sold the house for money. Now the house is gone, your brother's wedding is ruined. Do you still expect me to help you raise your child?" My brother, hearing the commotion, rushed out of the room. Seeing Mrs. Song holding the baby, he panicked. "Mother, what are you doing? Give us back our child." Mrs. Song glared at my brother. "Give him back to you too? You two stole my house, ruined my son's wedding, and now you expect me to raise your child for you? Dream on." With that, she turned to leave. Elara lunged forward to stop her but was roughly pushed to the ground by Mrs. Song. "Mother, you can't do this. Leo is my son," Elara wailed heartbreakingly, her voice full of despair. Mrs. Song didn't look back, carrying the baby out of the house. My brother tried to chase after her, but was held back by her relatives, forced to watch helplessly as his child was taken away. After losing their child, both my brother and sister-in-law completely collapsed. Elara cried all day, ceaselessly murmuring, "My Leo, my dragon child." My brother, like a man driven mad, went everywhere borrowing money, hoping to get their child back. But Mrs. Song was determined to exact her revenge, giving them no opportunity. One night, my brother returned home, dead drunk, and furiously cursed at Elara. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't been so deluded by that, master, Leo wouldn't have gotten into this mess. We wouldn't have lost the house, and now we don't even have a child. Are you satisfied now? Alara cried until her voice was hoarse. How can you blame me? Didn't you agree at first? You even said Leo was a transformed dragon and that we'd have glory and wealth later. My brother sneered, his eyes filled with resentment. Glory and wealth? We don't even have a house now. Do you still have the nerve to say that? The two argued fiercely. Finally, my brother slammed the door and left, leaving Alara to sit alone, sobbing uncontrollably. Observing their chaotic lives, I felt like an outsider, calmly watching. In my previous life, I had to sacrifice my own life to truly understand my brother and sister-in-law's nature. Given a second chance by fate, I absolutely couldn't let them off easily. To utterly destroy someone, you must make them awaken from their delusion, make them realize that for a single superstitious belief, they exchanged everything, only to end up with nothing. I began to secretly investigate that master. Through a few connections, I found his abode, a secluded alley with a dilapidated sign that read, Feng Shui, Heavenly Fate. I put on a hat and mask as a disguise, then quietly stepped inside. The dimly lit, damp shop was filled with the scent of incense. A middle-aged man sat behind the counter, bowing his head, counting money. At the same time, I subtly touched the hidden camera attached to my handbag, feeling a renewed sense of calm. Master, I'd like you to tell my fortune, I said, lowering my voice, deliberately feigning eagerness and anxiety. The man looked up, a glint of greed in his eyes. I can, but payment is required up front. I placed a few bills on the counter and whispered, I heard you're very effective, Master. My family has been having some trouble recently and I'd like your guidance. He took the money, his eyes crinkling in a smile. All right, tell me, what trouble is your family facing? I fabricated a story about a sick family member needing his help. He put on a profound air, counted on his fingers for a moment, then took a talisman from a drawer and handed it to me. Take this talisman home and burn it. It will surely heal your family member immediately. I took the talisman, a cold laugh forming in my heart. Could people really believe such a ridiculous scam? A few days later, I secretly followed the master and discovered he had an entire gang of accomplices. Parks and residential areas were where they frequently sought out their targets. Countless people, like my sister-in-law, had been deceived, but to be so blindly gullible as to follow their words and voluntarily undergo an early C-section at 6 months, perhaps only my sister-in-law was capable of such a thing. My phone and camera were now full of data. All these video clips were sufficient evidence to bring this scamming group to justice. A few days later, I took the evidence I had collected to the police station. The police, upon hearing my story, immediately launched an investigation. The master and his accomplices were quickly arrested. At his shop, the police confiscated a large number of fake talismans and detailed ledgers documenting their scams, including the names and amounts my brother and sister-in-law had donated. The police notified my brother and sister-in-law to come in for questioning. When my brother learned of it, his face immediately went white. How can this be? Wasn't the master a revered figure? How could he be a fraud? Alara collapsed onto the floor, mumbling, It's over, it's truly over. All our money is gone. When the two arrived at the police station, the master, sitting in the interrogation room, was still defiant. Officers, we are not swindlers. We are doing good deeds to accumulate merit. Furthermore, it was a voluntary exchange on both sides, so how can you call it fraud? Alara, her face streaked with tears, her eyes red, lunged at him, hitting and screaming. You swindler, it's all your fault. Because of your words, I gave birth when I was only 6 months pregnant. I lost too much blood, had my uterus removed. My son is riddled with diseases. To cure him, I sold my mother's house, shattering my family. Now my son has been taken away from me too. You deserve to die, you should be executed. My son's fate is all because of you. The master, beaten and bruised, his nose and mouth bleeding, still sneered. Did I trick you? You were the ones who were superstitious. I stood there, arms crossed, watching the entire scene, speechless. Something inside me crumbled. Leo, the 6-month premature baby, suffered from type 1 diabetes and sepsis. These two diseases would plague him for life. Whether he would even live to adulthood remained a huge question mark. My brother and sister-in-law had only this one child. To continue their bloodline, they would undoubtedly be burdened by Leo for their entire lives. Their future now seemed clearly bleak, with no escape. Thanks to the abundant evidence I provided, no matter how the master tried to evade and argue, he could not deny his crimes. On the day of his trial, my brother, sister-in-law, and I sat in the audience. The judge brought down his gavel, his voice stern. Defendant, you used superstition to defraud others of their property. The amount defrauded was substantial, and the circumstances are serious. According to Article 266 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, your actions constitute the crime of fraud. The master, upon hearing this, immediately collapsed to his knees. Your Honor, I was wrong. I know my wrong. Please give me a chance. I won't do it again. The judge cast a cold glance at him and continued to pronounce the sentence. Based on the details of the crime, the court sentences the defendant to 7 years in prison and imposes an administrative fine of 500,000 yuan. Upon hearing the verdict, my brother and sister-in-law didn't smile. Instead, their faces grew even gloomier. Yes, the swindler had been punished, but that also meant everything was over. Their family's future now resembled a bottomless abyss. Fortunately, during their previous visit to the police station, Alara had tearfully pleaded for help. Under police mediation, Mrs. Song finally agreed to return the baby to her. Alara hugged her child, tears streaming down her face. Leo, mother found you. I won't let you leave me again. But the baby's illnesses persisted. The treatment costs for his metabolic disorder and type 1 diabetes were exorbitant. Alara had no choice but to borrow money everywhere, even selling off the last valuable items in their home. My brother, however, grew increasingly impatient, constantly complaining. Money, money, all you ever talk about is money. Where am I supposed to get so much money? Alara, crying, pleaded with her husband. Leo is our son, you can't abandon him. My brother sneered, that child is nothing but a bottomless pit now. If this continues, our whole family will be dragged down with him. As time passed, my brother's attitude towards his wife and child grew colder and colder. He started going out frequently, claiming to work overtime, but always returned with a smug expression. Alara sensed something was amiss, but for the sake of her child, she could only endure. Until one day, Alara accidentally discovered a suggestive message on my brother's phone. Brother-in-law, let's meet at our usual spot tonight, okay? I'll be waiting for you there. The sender was none other than Sophia. A few days later, Sophia, heavily pregnant, arrived directly at my brother and sister-in-law's house. She stood at the door, her face full of smug satisfaction. Sister, I'm pregnant. It's your husband's child. Alara heard this as if struck by lightning, her voice trembling. What did you say? Sophia rubbed her belly, her voice coy. I said I'm pregnant with your husband's child. He said he'll divorce you and marry me after I give birth. Alara sank to the floor, tears streaming endlessly. How could you two do this? Sophia laughed scornfully. Why couldn't I? You sold the house for that sick child. Do you know Felix's wedding was ruined because of that house? If I didn't get with your husband, my mother was going to marry me off to a cripple. Everything that's happened today, you brought it upon yourself. My brother walked out of the room, and seeing Sophia's lack of remorse, he coldly told his wife, Since you know everything, there's no need for more words. Pack your things, take Leo, and leave. In a few days, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to divorce. Alara couldn't believe her ears. You're kicking me and our child out? My brother grew impatient. What else? Leo is a burden now, I can't afford to raise him. Sophia is carrying my child now, and I'll have more children later. Upon hearing that, Alara finally broke down. She lunged and grabbed my brother's collar, screaming, You heartless man, Leo is your biological son, how can you be so cruel? My brother pushed her away coldly. Biological son? He's a sick child, I don't want to be dragged down by him my whole life. And you don't forget whose fault it is that Leo turned out this way. Isn't it because of you, his mother? Alara was kicked out of the house, with no one to turn to, and had to return to her mother's home. But the Song family now saw her as an enemy and would never let her stay. With no other option, she could only take Leo to rent a small room near the hospital, bringing him for treatment every day. Leo's condition worsened day by day, complications rapidly piling up. Finally, during one emergency, the doctors powerlessly announced, We've done everything we can. We're sorry. The loss of her child completely shattered Alara. She blamed my brother and Sophia for everything. On the very night after the funeral, Alara secretly returned to my brother and Sophia's residence. She doused the entire house with gasoline, then set it ablaze. The fire erupted furiously, consuming the entire house. My brother and Sophia awoke to the smoke, frantically searching for an escape route, but the fire had spread everywhere, leaving no way out. Amidst the inferno, Alara stood there, a demented smile on her face. At 4:00 a.m., my phone rang, displaying an unknown number. I groggily answered, "Hello." On the other end was a grave male voice. "May I ask if this is Ms. Luna? This is the Municipal Public Security Bureau." My heart clenched, but I kept my voice calm. "Yes, it's me. What's wrong?" "We regret to inform you. Your brother, Mr. Ethan, his wife, Ms. Alara, and her sister, Ms. Sophia, have perished in a fire. According to preliminary investigations, the fire was intentionally set by Ms. Alara. We request you come to the police station to assist with the investigation." I hung up, my heart churning violently. I never expected Alara to choose such a brutal path of revenge. At the funeral home, I quietly collected my brother's belongings. There was almost nothing left. Everything had been incinerated in the blaze, except for a wallet, half-charred. Inside was a partially burnt photo of my brother, Alara, and me, smiling so happily. Leaving the funeral home, I pulled out my phone and called my husband. His gentle voice rang out. "Hello, wife, what's wrong?" I took a deep breath, my voice calm. "Honey, I've finished clearing out my brother's belongings. Everything is over now." My husband was silent for a few seconds, then gently asked, "Are you okay? Do you need me to come pick you up?"